Hello, my name is Reverend Susan Lester, and I am a minister of the United Church of Christ, and I serve here in southern Minnesota, well, let's just say. And you might have remembered me from my last video covering forgiveness. And today I want to start a series, and I don't know how long this series is going to go on, but it's up to your participation. And I want to talk about this. Has the church ever hurt you? That is a very common thing that I hear about. I will never go back to a church. I can't go back to a church because they did this, they hurt me badly. I've experienced trauma, whether as a child or an adult, and trauma happens to us all the time, and it's not okay, and we need to heal from that. So let's just say you've gone to a church and you've attended this church for a while, and one of the things that I hear a lot is, they told me I wasn't giving enough. Now, if a church ever asks you to give more money, that's probably a sign that you don't belong there, because the church is there to serve you, not to make money. Perhaps you're a woman and the church asked you to cover up more. Or even told your daughter to cover up more. Take a look at what you're wearing. If you think it's okay, then it's okay. A church, or nobody else for that matter, should tell a woman how to dress, how to act, or what to say. That's not okay. Perhaps covertly or maybe even overtly, the church let you know that you were not welcome there. This would be several instances. Perhaps you're not married to the person you're living with, or not married to your partner. That's none of their business. Perhaps it's because you are not heterosexual. That is a very common theme that I do hear of people experiencing trauma. Perhaps you are not presenting your gender assigned at birth. It's none of their business, and your gender is your gender. It is not theirs. Perhaps you are a parent with a trans child, and the church is encouraging you to change it back or else, or something along those lines. That is not okay, honestly. Many churches are guilty of all these things, and the ironic thing to me is that these instances and many more of trauma-producing experiences are not in the Bible. The church leaders might say they are, but a lot of times they don't know where it says that, or they just assume it says that. So we want to be very careful, especially as a church, or when we're in a church and hearing those words. What does that mean? If somebody says it's in the Bible, I generally say, okay, tell me where it's in the Bible. And if I'm not familiar with it, I go read the passage, and it doesn't really mean the same thing to me. I would like to tell you about the last church I served. I still have trauma from being a pastor there. So I've had to take time off. I took 2 whole years off and worked to heal myself. And frankly, I'm still healing myself because of that trauma. But I was very, very lucky to find a church that welcomed me in the way I needed to be welcomed. And I'll tell you a very short story of how it happened. Of course, when I'm in the interview process, the church loves to say many things like, we're interested in becoming LGBT friendly. We're interested in going through the process. Can you help us? And I would always say, of course, that's why I'm here. The church would also say, oh, you're not our employee, you are our spiritual guide. And that is exactly the correct thing a church is supposed to say when interviewing a pastor. However, a lot of times they don't mean that. And the big thing is, oh, we would like you to help us change our procedures or update them to the 21st century. That's a very fun thing for them to say, and everybody loves to think, oh, we're going to update ourselves, we're going to be new and fresh, we have a new pastor. And then when you start to try and update and help them with what they said, the church will often go, oh, we've never done it that way. So no, we don't like that. I tried to do what they wanted, and they told me that I was not a right fit for them, and they fired me for it. Now, it is very hard to hear those things, and indeed, I stopped being a pastor for a while, and I realized that in the end, it wasn't my fault. I did what I was supposed to do. I did what I was being called to do by God. But the church, honestly, was not ready for me. Maybe a few of them thought I was, or thought I was the right fit. But too many people just did not like being told to change. And it wasn't done in a nice way. And that's where the trauma entered. So today, to start the series, I'd like to know in the comments what your story is. I would love to share it, and it would be anonymous, of course. But I'd love to share your story and go over possible ways of the healing process for you. Because the longer we hold on to trauma like that, the harder it is to heal from it. And that could be a lifetime of things. And I didn't even touch on my examples of sexual trauma caused by clergy or church leaders. That's terrible, and it should never happen. And that is never your fault. When I go to a church, visiting or going for a program, I look for these signs to know that I am safe. Does the church fly a pride flag outside, or at least have an LGBTQ policy of inclusion? Does the church use inclusive or expansive language? If they don't, are they open to hearing about it? And that would be not using gender pronouns for spirituality or God, as we don't need to do that. Do they empower women to leadership positions? That's very important to me. Do they allow members in the church to understand the Bible in their own way? Now that might be indicative of a United Church of Christ church to understand the Bible in their own way, but most churches should do that, because the best way that we can connect to our holy scriptures is to understand them in our own language or understand them in our own sensibilities. And the last one these days is very important. Does the church stay far away from what politicians say? We are supposed to not talk about politics in church, particularly in the pulpit. But we have to play a very fair and fine line. What does it mean to be an American Christian? And what does it mean to act as an American with our own moral sense? You can find possibilities of morality in the Bible, but the Bible and what politicians say should never mix. Now, what I like to say is the Bible can help us define how the Constitution applies to us, but we can never tell anybody else how to define the Constitution. That's up to each individual person in this country. So if you feel comfortable, please let me know in the comments or direct message the church through our social media, and we could talk about your story. And once again, it will be confidential, and that way we can all work on it together, because I bet if you have a story of being hurt by the church, there are a whole lot of other people that have the same story as you, because it happens way too often. And let's work on it together. Thank you.